Alrighty guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about, honestly, one of my favorite things in the deer woods, deer prep, and really what I think could be one of the biggest game changers come deer season, and that's mock scrapes, vine scrapes. Today I'm out here replacing one of these. I've had this thing up for 2-3 years. This was one of my first experiment ones. It worked kind of well. It was very thin, so we're gonna get a bigger one, a fresh one. This is all dried out, not very good. But yeah, today we're gonna replace it, and I'm gonna talk to you about them, why I use them, when to use them, how the deer use them, how it helps withstand location, and just things like that in general. Why I think they're such really the biggest game changer you can do summer prep to deer season. It can really pay off. So first, let's talk about why I do it. Vine scrapes. What do I use? What are they? So I like to use grapevines. Up in the Midwest, we have a lot of them. I understand that not every state will have that. Majority won't. It's just typically grapevines are the best in the Midwest. Some things I would use if I were down south, or out west, or out east, where you don't have grapevines. Oak branches, maple branches, branches that look like this, right here. Stuff like that. That deer will still use. I like these. Now, how do I like them? How do I set them up? Typically, a deer is not near as tall as us, right? And a lot of people say, oh, well, you gotta put it a little higher for the bucks because they got their antlers and everything. That is not the purpose or the use of this. I like to put this at about waist height, which it is. It's a little high for my liking, but I like to put it about waist height. And what I like to do with it at waist height is so that way the deer is right at the deer's head, right at their nose, right at their pre-orbital glands. That is what these vine scrapes target, the pre-orbital glands. It is what these deer use these for. It is how they communicate. A lot of people say scrapes. Well, why you put it up in? Well, it's end of July. Why are you putting it up now? And the answer is, well, I should be putting this up in May. These are very community scrapes. Does will hit these. Bucks will hit these. Now the does, they won't. Does and fawns, they won't make a scrape underneath it come fall. They won't. They won't use this religiously. However, they will use this when it is in their way. It is their way of putting their scent down to mark their territory, as well as seeing what other deer have used this for. With that being said, again, bucks won't use it. The idea that bucks won't use this outside of October and November is very false. I've had bucks hit this when they shed their antlers in January all the way until December. Like, it is a year-round 365 community scrape that all deer will use. I like to put these right next to every deer stand I have, if I can. And I know how you're saying, well, what about food plots? Well, there are other ways to do that as well. You could put a food plot in the food plots. A lot of times what I like to do is I like to put a tree. I will cut down a small popple. Honestly, a tree of this size, kind of, maybe a little smaller than this. And what I'll do is I'll dig a hole right in the food plot, 25, 30 yards away from my stand. I'll put it in there, and I'll put a scrape of mine, just like this on there. Just how I'm doing right now. It's very helpful. I've shot bucks off of it. I have literally shot a buck making a scrape on this vine. Not this particular vine. Right back here on a food plot, out of stand, I shot a buck, making a scrape, and yeah, I mean, it was first or second week of October, and he was hitting the scrape. He was making the scrape underneath it, really getting invested into it, and gave me a perfect 25-yard broadside shot, smoked him, watched him die. That's the goal, is the dream shot you want. So with this being said, today I'm gonna show you how I do this, but I also wanted to talk about one more thing about mock scrapes before I put this up and change this. And again, mock scrapes, vine scrapes in particular, these are the ones I like, are very good for trail cam locations and deer stand locations. You put these there and they condense the deer movement to one spot. Now, if you put a scrape 15 yards off a road, 15 yards off a trail, 15 yards off a food plot where deer really aren't, they're not going to hit it. It's not something that a buck is going to be like, oh, I have to go hit that. However, if you put it in the way or right off of it, it is a convenience. And the same thing goes for the food plot ones. So you take a tree out, you put it in the food plot. A lot of times for deer, it gives a buck, particularly, a landmark to work towards. They're not going to go straight across and hit that first thing first unless they are refreshing up that scrape that they've hit, or they are just looking for does, and it's very quick. They see that, they get there. But again, it is a landmark. A buck might come out the opposite corner of the field, and he's going to slowly work his way, but he's going to work his way at this, so we can hit this. But it's not going to be the #1 priority, but it gives him a landmark to work towards, which is right next to your stand, right next to your shot. So, one more thing I'd like to touch on is, these are very great condensers. I put a camera on one of these, I put a stand on one of these, or stand location comes first, then I'll put the scrape, then I'll put the camera. Make that very clear. Always have a good stand location first, and then put the scrape down. But again, one thing to keep in mind and watch out for is scent. Scent is one of the biggest false advertisements of the hunting industry. To be very honest with you. Some of you might not like that, but it's the truth. Especially when it comes to scrapes. I'm not talking about wind scent, I'm not talking about ground scent. That is true stuff, and we'll touch on that later once we get more into hunting season, about how to work the wind and stuff while you're hunting. But when it comes to scrapes, buying scent from a store, hemp ropes, stuff like that is just not the way to go, in my opinion. It really does not work, and if it does, you're going to have just as much success not even using it. However, there are two exceptions to this rule, in my opinion. One is a scent brand, and it's one scent they have. It's one brand. I use it, and it does actually work. It's called Code Blue Rack Rub. Ever heard of it? It is something that I know Caleb Greiner, a very, very good whitetail management person down in Iowa, he uses it. He praises it. He loves it. He's really great with these mock scrapes. He does really great jobs with it. But yeah, he uses it. It works. I've used it. It works. That is one thing. It's a preorbital gland. It is very, very similar to what a deer's is. It gets the scrape started. Now, you can easily go without it. If you want to save yourself 10 to 15 bucks, don't buy it. Just use it. The second way everybody can do, it's going to sound a little weird. Pee in your scrape. Not on the vine, but in the scrape. When you make the scrape underneath, yeah, I'm making the scrape. It's middle of July, or end of July, early August. I'm still going to make a scrape. I'm going to clear this area out, and I'm going to pee in it. Studies have shown from various colleges that human urine, the scent of human in urine goes away in about the first 10 to 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So, with that being said, after those 10, 15, 20 minutes, your urine is going to smell like any other animal's urine. It's just going to be urine. So, pee in your scrapes. Get it started. It's the best way to get it started. Deer are going to smell that. They're going to say, hey, there's been another deer here. They're not going to know it's human, but hey, there's been something here. It's hit this. With the Code Blue on it, with or without, does not matter. I like to use it just to get them started. I would never put it on again. Once I put it on once, never put it on again. Once it started, it's off deer from there. But you put it on, you scrape it up a little bit. You pee in your scrape, and you're good to go. Now, deer might not hit the scrape part of it, but they will hit this vine for the net until you take it down. They'll hit your vine day after day until you take it down. You'd be surprised, I promise. And yeah, again, drip bags, scent, the urine bags they sell, hemp ropes, all that stuff. It's not as good. It doesn't work, most of the scents and the hemp rope. What do I have against ropes? Well, vines are just more natural. If you have a vine, use a vine. If you have even a branch, use a branch. It's a more natural scrape. Now, one thing I'm gonna try this year, I don't know where I'm gonna try it, but I'm thinking about trying is tying some, oak leaves or tiny part of an oak branch onto it. You make it a little more leafy-like, a little more lifelike, just to liven it up, make it a little more natural. Again, I think natural is the best. The more natural you can go, the less artificial scent, the less ropes you use, the better. The more natural it is. So those are the breakaways. Don't buy all the stuff that they sell unless it's Kobu rack rub, which you don't need. So what do you need? What do you need for this? Well, a lot of times I just need a little piece of rope. I don't know if you can see it up top, but you're gonna have a little piece of rope. That is just gonna be so you can tie it to the tree, obviously, and let it move. One of the biggest things I like about these is you can just let these. One key thing is you can just let this scrape move. Back and forth is a huge thing. Letting deer be able to move it around. That's why I want a little bigger one on this. This is very, very easy to move around. I want something a little heavier that deer are gonna have to push around a little more, get a little more involved with. This goes in the wind, you know what I mean? It's kind of like that. So, but the key thing is you want this to move. Some people use rope, some people use zip tie. Now, I've used rope, I haven't used zip tie. However, I do know zip tie works on smaller branches. Smaller branches, lower branches. Now, I've put scrapes up 20 feet, 20-foot branch. These vines are about 5 to 6 feet tall. This one's, yeah, they're very similar. Yeah, these vines are about 5 to 6 feet tall. That's how I like to cut them. Deer won't be able to see that rope, but if they will, it's not going to be a bother to them. You're going to have majority vine down here. And that's what they're going to be focused on and using. But it's also going to be the weight that carries. Now again, I've put, an 8-foot vine on and I've had 8 to 10 feet of rope above it on some bigger things. Now, you don't have to go there. You don't have to do that. You can tie ropes to one tree here, another tree there, tie a rope, and then tie the vine down. That's fine too, but I was able to have a huge ladder. I was able to go up, tie that up there, and now I have a scrape, and I'll show you that scrape layer today. But again, 5 to 6 foot vine, 7 depending on how high the branch is, and the rope you can adjust, and then the rope's more adjustable. I don't like to cut the vine yet. I like to tie the rope, put it on there, and then once you have this and you have to get it at waist height, rather than adjusting the rope, I'd rather go lower with it and then cut the vine. I think that's one big thing that a lot of people, or I've struggled with at least, was always trying to get it perfectly right with the rope when I could just cut, 5 to 6 inches off the vine. And it's not a huge deal. So you're gonna want the vine, 5 to 6 inches, rope depending on how big your branch is. To be honest, that's all you're gonna need. Maybe a rake to clear up the scrape. But it's very simple. This is a project that can really take, on a small thing like this, shouldn't take more than 5 to 10 minutes. It's very, very simple, very, very quick. Just make sure you have a clear shooting lane with your stand. We have a stand right over here. I'll show you that. We have a stand over here. We have a scrape over here. Food way back there. The deer are gonna come down. They're gonna work their way through, back and forth from food to bed. That's really the idea of this scrape here. Just get them to stop so we can get a shot. So, yeah, I'm gonna go get this scrape changed out, and then we will show you how big to make the scrape on the bottom. I had to use the foiler to get up there, but I moved the foiler because this was dripping. I mean, it is a very wet, juicy vine, so that is exactly what we want. And now I'm gonna make a scrape under this. Now, there's a little bit of a stump here, so I'll make it a little bit off to the side, more into the road. And a lot of times you use a rake. Not a lot of people like using their feet. However, I want to pee in it, so that scent is just gonna start it, and I don't think they're gonna mind the boot scent. And they're also just not gonna use this scrape wise for a while. So I'm just gonna clear the scrape out a little bit, make it very clear and obvious that there have been deer in here using this And it's ready to go for fall now, guys. I just gotta apply a little Code Blue, which I forgot back at the house. I'll show you what it looks like when I get home. Of course I forgot it though. That was one thing I did. But this vine's gonna drip right into there. I'll have to come back and I'll go apply it here pretty soon. But yeah, guys, that's Smock Scrapes 101. It's very easy. This is what you can do to really help. If you're looking to do something to really increase your odds or shoot a buck out of your stand, this is exactly what you need to do. You know, like I said, this actually took me 3 minutes. I didn't have to untie it up top. I just had to untie the vine part of it, tie the vine back on, and it was good to go. So, I know I ramble a lot. I'll go show you the vine that I had put 20 feet in the air on that big vine. But otherwise, that's gonna be it today. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I really hope you guys use this. Go out, do it now. It's July, end of July, going into August. 1 to 2 months away from deer season, guys. It is almost that time. So make sure you're getting this stuff ready. Your prep food plot should be going in soon. Brassicas, winter rye. Winter rye in the later part of the month. Brassicas now. We're at the mercy of the farmer, so I guess depending on what they do depends on how it plant. But let's get this guy. Let's get rolling, guys. It's almost that time. Make sure you're shooting your bow. I say it once, I'll say it again. I'll say it every day I'm on here signing off, because it is the most important thing about your season is getting your bow ready. So I hope you guys learned something, and please subscribe, like, and comment what you want to see next.